When considering Gold Cup 1967, Gold Cup Seattle, that is, certainly you have to take a look at just exactly what are we doing in hydroplane racing. Who are these new people? Who are the new boats, new engines, new experiences? And successfully and victoriously, but representing the community of Seattle beautifully, Billy Shoemaker, a Seattle boy, has been doing tremendously well and has to be classified in the 1967 Gold Cup as the guy to beat with the success that he's had thus far this year. Bill, it's just great to have you in a first-class boat with a first-class team. I'd like to sit here and maybe, I'm sure you won't tell me, but maybe give me some why or some reason why you think or why your boat is performing as good as it is, considering the fact that it is a brand new boat this year.
We've been supplied with the finest of equipment from Mr. Bardall, and we have a very young but very expert crew.
They've got tremendous enthusiasm, I can say that, and they approach this well, they approach the whole sport with a certain optimism that is difficult to compete with. Bill, you've been on 2.5-mile courses throughout the country. Detroit was the first 3-mile course we had to run on. The course in Seattle, of course, for the Gold Cup will be a 3-mile race course. How do you think you're going to fare on those longer chutes and those corners in Seattle town?
I don't really know. As soon as we run, I can tell more, but I'm looking forward to it. I like myself a little longer course.
Well, I think maybe that's because we enjoy a little longer or faster, at least, straightaway speeds and have an opportunity to do some interesting cornering. Thus far this year on the 2.5-mile courses in Madison, Indiana and Tampa, Florida, you were running how fast in the straightaways to win?
Oh, approximately 130, and this was almost maximum speeds.
What would you say then would be the top speed necessary to come up with a winning performance in Seattle?
My guess would be around 155 or 160.
There's going to be a lot of people watching the Bardall and Bill Shoemaker as he takes certainly the boat to beat into the 1967 Gold Cup exclusively on King. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Bill Sterritt, the world champion, with his Miss Chrysler crew, who last year installed 2 Chrysler engines, was successful, and this year came on to win the World Championship race in Detroit, and who is shooting for his first Gold Cup win in Seattle town. Bill, I know that you've been running on 2.5-mile courses and 3-mile courses, and you're ready to go racing wherever they sanction an event. Just about how, in about 10 words, are you going to prepare for the Gold Cup more than any other race you might be in?
I don't.
3-mile course in Seattle.
However, we don't change any gears or wheels or make any change at all between the 2.5 and 3. We have flexibility enough in the engines to adapt to either course without making any changes.
What kind of shoot speeds, top speeds, have you been able to win to be successful this year on 2.5-mile courses?
Well, this morning when I qualified out here at 107, 148 was the most I saw.
And then you expect to see what in Seattle on a 3-mile course?
Near 160, 155, 58 on 3-mile.
Tell me about the pressure performance, Bill. Does the crew feel the pressure of the 1967 Gold Cup like we know, of course, the drivers do, but do they feel it through you? Can you feel the pulse of this crew functioning in the interest of this Gold Cup race?
Well, if we have a problem, a malfunction, something that goes wrong, I think every one of them hates it enough to cut his tongue out. They all look real beat when we come in. We've, as you know, have been plagued this time with supercharger belts. This has taken us out of 2 of the 3 races so far. We've been in front or in good shape and lose a supercharger belt, which we have to disengage one of the engines in and finish on just a single engine, and this of course takes you completely out of contention when that happens.
Bill, in Seattle for the Gold Cup this year, you'll run 4 heats of 15 miles each rather than the 3 which we've been running around the country thus far. From an engine standpoint, will you prepare to make a certain engine change in a certain number of after 1 or 2 or 3 heats? How will you prepare your equipment for the 4-heat competition?
Don't anticipate any changes at all until such time as we do get this belt problem that we've been having worked out. We're going to run belts 1 heat and throw them away. We haven't done that, but we have decided now that this is in the proper order of business. So you will find a few old belts laying around on the ground.
Well,
but the engines themselves, we have had no problem with, and it looks like they're plenty strong to go any number of laps. We have one set of engines that we had 76 laps on that we put down in Alabama.
We're not quite getting that many laps out of a Rolls-Royce at this point, not in the Miss US anyway. Seattle folks will be watching, of course, the Chrysler crew and Bill Sterritt as he, like in Detroit for the World Championship, goes for his first Gold Cup win. From the Inland Empire in 1960 came the Miss Spokane with Rex Manchester, and he pulled a big fat second in our Seafair Trophy race in Seattle. 1967 comes the Miss Lapeer with company clerk Warner Gardner, with the renamed Miss the Inland Empire, the Miss Spokane. It's the Miss Lapeer now, and probably one of the quickest racing boats on the circuit today. Without question, throughout the country, everywhere he goes, he's the guy to beat. A tough nut to crack. He's a one-man operation and tremendously successful. Warner, what makes your boat go so good?
Well, I guess it's just one of the good Ted Jones designs and a Stoddicker-built hull, and I guess that's about the combination. It's the sister to the Wahoo, the XX side, which was a real fast boat, and as you remember, it's the sister to the first Thriftway which you had.
Well, what about a crew? How much value do you place on a crew?
Well, that's a pretty tough question, Bill.
Well, come on now. You talk to the Chrysler crew and some of the other people, and they say the crew's very important, the driver's important, the owner's important. I want to know what you think. What do you think of a crew?
I think that a good crew of about 4 people is the ideal setup.
How many do you have on your team?
Well, we have one right at the present time.
And he's a knowledgeable guy.
Well, we try to.
He's crew chief, and he's the
Crew
gopher.
chief, and we drive the truck. And
Warner Gardner is the driver, and he's the crew chief, and he's the representative owner of the Miss Lapeer as they travel throughout the country, a one-man operation who's doing it successfully. Some of us who have larger crews aren't sure just why this is all happening, but he's doing it and doing it very well. Warner, the 67 Gold Cup. Let's talk about that in Seattle town. 3 miles of race course, 4 heats. What are you going to do to prepare this boat to run any differently than it's been running on a 2.5-mile course throughout the country?
Not a thing, Bill. As you well know, this boat, after I hit the combination, after I bought it, which was the old Eagle Electric, I hit one combination with it, and I believe you saw the results of it in Tampa the first time we tangled.
Pretty quick.
And I have never changed the combination. I won't change it for a 3-mile course. I won't change it for a 2.5-mile course. I may have to run a little bit harder and stretch my engines a little bit more at the Gold Cup, but we're hoping they stay together.
Warner, Seattle town is certainly looking forward to everybody's company clerk, Colonel Warner Gardner, who's retired, of course, now, but very active unlimited hydroplane racing, running successfully throughout the United States, and a colorful guy in our sport. We're mighty glad to have him, and we'll look forward to some pretty fast speeds. What's it going to take to win the Gold Cup? About 104 or 5?
Oh, at least that, Bill. I figure with Sterritt and you around, I think we're going to have to run around 105, 106 miles an hour to win the Gold Cup.
Well, with me around, it might mean only the first heat, but the second and third heat, fourth heat, Sterritt will probably be
well,
there.
That's
keep
my,
you honest.
This is my problem, Bill. We run pretty quick for a while, but then we're never around to pick up the marbles.
From Lompoc, California, Bill Schuyler's Dollar Bill. From Lake Chelan, Norm Evans, Bill Schuyler's chauffeur. Norm, it's great to have you back with us, and after having been in the boat in the Tommy Cup over in Pasco, you're having an opportunity to drive it. How do you feel about your chances in the 67 Gold Cup in Seattle?
Well, it's pretty hard to predict any of the races this year, the way the boats are running, and it's all I can say. I'm sure we'll be right in there with the best of them, and they're all running about the same. As said, you can't predict them, but the boat handles nice, rides well, and all you have to do is keep going and keep in there.
Norm, this boat has had a great reputation for being a real fine handling machine. Much better than many of the other boats. Maybe not certainly the fastest, but a fine handling machine, and one that can turn in some pretty reputable speeds. As a matter of fact, you've turned in some darn good speeds with it. What do you attribute, why does it handle so much better than some of the other boats?
Well, it's really hard to say, Bill. I think the design, but I would say 3 of the best boats that I have driven or have turned is the old Miss Spokane, which is the Miss Lapeer and the Dollar Bill and the Coral Reef. It seems like several of these older hulls seem to have a little better design or are terrific turning boats, but this boat rides well, it turns good, and all we need to do is keep the power in it, and I'm sure it'll be right in there.
Norm, from what you've seen and observed of some of the boats, what would you think would be maybe the average qualifying speed for the whole field for the Gold Cup?
Well, I feel that the speeds maybe aren't quite as high this year, but I would say along if you're in 105, 106, you're going to be in the race for sure. It's going to, the way it's been lately, it's been consistent, and your speeds are lower, and you just got to stay in there. As far as these hot dogs going out, well, they aren't lasting.
They don't seem to be lasting all the time. Certainly on a 2.5-mile course, you're going to be slower than on a 3-mile course because you don't enjoy the long straightaways and the resulting increase in shoot speeds. But I kind of felt that this year, with the pressure as it is on this Gold Cup in Seattle, that qualifying speeds are going to be important. That second race on Saturday is going to be a race for those who don't make the field. And it takes 12 boats to get into the field, into the Gold Cup on Sunday, and I'm inclined to think that the average speed's liable to be up around 108, 109 mile an hour average for the field.
Yes, it's liable to be along in there. I think it's a real good idea, the two races, because these boats come from a long distance, and the smaller companies or sponsors, it gives them a chance to race, and it is too bad when they don't make a race like that. So I'm real happy to see Seattle have the kind of two races in one. I think it's a real good idea.
Well, Norm, it's great to have you back with us in our unlimited sport, and we certainly wish you everything that's good in '67 Gold Cup in Seattle.
Thank you, Bill. Enjoy to be back.